Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Ruiz. I am the moderator of this special event where we are talking to our school district leaders about athletics. There's plenty of questions out there about the protocols and what are going to be things that parents and staff should be looking at or protocols they should be following for this athletic season. So we're going to take the opportunity to take your questions and then, of course, have that honest conversation with our school leaders. Joining me today are Chief Academic Officer Dr. Glenda Sheffield. Hi, Dr. Sheffield. Good to see you today.
Hello,
And
Andrew.
also we have Ms. Valerie Miyares. She is the Manager of Athletics with lots of years of experience, wealth of knowledge. Good to have you both here again to be able to really have that honest conversation with everyone, all of our stakeholders, and again for them to ask you questions. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and get started with you, Dr. Sheffield. I wanted to ask you, as we embark on this new athletic season, what message do you want to share with students, coaches, and even the community about how this season should be approached?
Well, thank you again, Andrew. It's always great to get on with yourself. And of course, joining Valerie, our awesome athletic manager. And of course, to our student athletes and our community at large, our families. This is definitely exciting for us. We know that last fall, this time, the re-engagement of athletics looked very different for us. It was definitely not the Friday night lights on. Our sporting events just did not look to the norm. And rightfully so, it should not have looked. But we were committed this year as a district. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to give our students, our student athletes, an opportunity this year to have a full season and try to be very inclusive of many of those opportunities that were taken away from them last year. And I have to say, it was necessary because, of course, our safety and the health aspect is our top priority. Most recently, I had an opportunity to where I met with our county athletic directors, our coaches, and many of our principals that attended this meeting. And as I indicated to them, I'm excited, as we're entering this fall, I'm excited to be re-engaged in athletics. I'm excited that we're having it on all of our school campuses to where we're not doing the pods of our community schools. I think last year for football per se, we may have had, say, 4 or 5 schools, and those were the campuses. And they were not the traditional season that we are used to. I call it the Friday night football. So we wanted to try to, again, be very conscientious, be very careful in terms of making certain that whatever we did, we wanted to make certain that we were including some of those mitigating strategies that were, again, going to put our students and our coaches and our families and everyone that was going to be participating in an environment to where safety and health was at the top of our priority. And as I said before, it's not about winning championships at this point. What's important to me is giving our students an opportunity to engage in the extracurricular activities and in our athletic events, but doing it in a safe manner to where we're keeping their health as a top priority. So in a minute, Mrs. Miraz is going to be sharing with everyone many of those, mitigating strategies and safety protocols that we've put into place that we're going to be holding very tight. One of it per se is that where we have reduced, the capacity in our stadiums from 100% capacity to 50%. That was necessary. And that's just an example in terms of what some of those pieces will look like. And also talking about when our student athletes are practicing, encouraging our coaches to practice our student athletes in pods, in groups, and trying to make certain that we are providing some of those social distancing strategies. Our students wearing their mask when they're not practicing, when they may be standing around. Again, some of the things in terms of what we think that could help combat some of the viruses. As we've kicked off the seasons, we've already had instances where, we've had to cancel games because many of our athletes, they have been exposed or they have tested positive for the virus and so forth, and they're not able to play. So to assist us to where we're having fewer and fewer games or fewer and fewer of our athletes being exposed our coaches, our staff, our families, or anyone. This is for everyone. We're just going to want to hold tight and want to encourage our families and our students and everyone just to take heed and utilize these strategies, mitigating strategies that's going to help to prevent, the spread of this COVID disease, just help keep everyone safe and most importantly, healthy. So I'm just excited, and that's what I'm going to ask Andrew, of our families and of our student athletes, our coaches, and just say to everyone, we are excited. We are committed to this as a district, but we're going to have to work and combat this together. The vaccines are out there, many of our employees, the coaches, many of our students, those that are of age have been vaccinated or what have you. But at the same time, even being vaccinated, you still want to, of course, endure and utilize some of those mitigating strategies and things. And we just want to be safe, keep everyone safe, and we want to have a great time. And it's going to take everyone working together to keep this going.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Sheffield. Thank you so much. And so let's jump right into it, Ms. Miares. You do have some of the protocols that you want to talk about, and they're going in place as soon as this week because we do have some football games tonight.
Yes, and thank you so much, Andrew, and thank you to the communications department for spotlighting athletics and for having Dr. Sheffield and I on here together. But there are some new mitigation strategies. As everybody knows, we're still going through a challenging time with COVID, and as Dr. Sheffield had said, our commitment to health and safety and providing full seasons and championship events for our student athletes are absolutely the most paramount thing. We're asking for the community, for everybody to pitch in and to have an understanding that the policies and the protocols that we have in place are simply to help our teams and to help our families. And so with that being said, I'd like to walk you through some of our new protocols. And these are things that you may have seen last year and some things that we are going to go ahead and use as we re-engage in this school year. So spectator capacity, we are going to bring that down from 100% at the gyms and the stadiums down to 50%. We also have one district-owned pool at Boca Raton High School. The pool deck will also be at 50% as well. Facial coverings for all spectators. Spectators fall under our visitor policy, which is policy 2.065, asking for them to wear their facial coverings at indoor and outdoor events. We are going to ask for the athletes and the coaches to take it a step further. As we know, our students and our employees are not required to wear facial coverings while they're outside. However, because it's really important that we all play a part in this, we're asking for our students and our coaches that are not actively participating in the game, that are waiting to enter the contest, and that are on the sidelines, that they would also wear their facial coverings while they're kind of in that dormant period. Social distancing will be incorporated into the venue seating plan. Every school has their own facilities and has their own unique setup. We have asked for the high school athletic directors to be considerate with the social distancing and try to incorporate that as best as possible. As many of our families and supporters know that come to our facilities, there's plenty of room to where you can stand and you can distance as you please. We ask for people to please go ahead and take advantage of that and social distance to their comfort level. We're also offering digital ticketing, which is provided by GoFan. Usually the website is the best place to go into. Sometimes the app, just for transparency, the app can be a little difficult at times, but the website is always a great place for you to go and to purchase your tickets. We're also going to offer concessions, and when those are available, the schools will serve bottled beverages and prepackaged snacks. We at the school district have the UNX disinfecting program. This is something that I'm really proud of. We are the only school district in the state of Florida to have this level of disinfecting program. This is a program that services a number of the professional sports leagues, as well as a lot of our Division I colleges and universities. So the fact that we're bringing it here to the Palm Beach County School District is a great thing. And so we're asking for our coaches and athletic directors to sanitize the bleachers as well as equipment on a daily basis, equipment as we're transitioning from drills or transitioning from pods or just on a nightly basis, just to ensure the best safety standards and health standards for our student athletes as they're using those items. Also, we are going to close practices to the public with the exception of college coaches and recruiters. We want to minimize the number of people that come into contact with the athletes unnecessarily.
And there is kind of a difference when it comes to middle school, right? I mean, most of these are on point exactly between high school and middle school, but can you walk us through some of the differences with the middle school protocols?
Sure, absolutely. So with our middle schools, the gyms are a little bit smaller, and so we're going to be bringing that capacity down as well to 500 spectators total in the middle school gyms. Every middle school also has their own unique outdoor facilities, and so however their facility is set up, we are going to ask for them to also comply with the 50% capacity protocol. At this point in time, we do not have digital ticketing for middle school sports. It is something that we are working towards, but right now, as we get baseball and softball started at the middle school level, we will just have the traditional cash and paper ticket entry for those schools that are going to charge for tickets. Also, here practices will also be closed to the public. So parents who are arriving to pick up their middle school student athlete, we're asking you to kindly wait in the parking lot, and your athlete will meet you at your vehicle once practice is over.
And as I was refreshing myself through some of the notes from last year, is there any changes as far as transportation is concerned, as far as getting kids to these different types of venues, and also even for the spectators who are coming in, you had to present a ticket just to enter the parking lot. Can you provide some clarity on that?
Sure. Well, as far as the high school student athletes, we are bringing transportation down to a 75% maximum. And so the high schools are going to be working through that. They're also going to have seating charts and different things for contact tracing with the transportation protocol. Our middle schoolers, we rely on our parents to go ahead and make sure that the middle school athletes make it to their practices or to their contests. And then as far as the ticket check, because we're at 50% capacity, we have a considerable more larger amounts of seats available than we did last year. Last year, we were at a 15% capacity for our football games. And so now we've increased it to 50%. Some of those rivalry games, some of those higher attended games, schools may put into place where each car will need to show that they have their tickets already purchased in order for entry. So it's just important for families and supporters of certain communities to ensure that they are receiving the information from their school as to what will be required on a week-to-week basis, depending on who the opponent is.
Thank you, Valerie, for that clarification. And Dr. Sheffield, I wanted to ask you about the importance of this reintroduction. I know that, we definitely heard from parents and students who wanted for sports to come back last year, and obviously we were able to reintroduce it. But again, as you mentioned, protecting, the students is the priority of the district. How is that? How can we balance that out?
Well, Andrew, I mean, it is very important for us, as Valerie and I were talking, one thing that, last year, this time, our college coaches, they were in this period to where they were not visiting, campuses. Everyone really and truly was on lockdown, right? This year, it was important for us to try to return to some normalcy and provide that opportunity for our students. One thing that they're going to see this year in terms of them being able to have that opportunity to play on their campuses and try to play in that environment that they're accustomed to playing in is that, our college recruiters and, other individuals, they're going to be out there actively looking at, our student athletes. And that was important for us because we want to make certain that every opportunity that's available there for our students and for the families and for the community, that we provide that opportunity to them. But I have to stress again, for us to be able to continue to provide this experience for our families more in terms of what they're used to, and not having to shut down like we did last fall, we're really going to need to heed in regarding to practicing many of these mitigating strategies, such as, again, the mask, the social distancing, getting vaccinated, those that are eligible for it, and just being serious about their health. This is going to take the work of everyone. As Valerie has gone through, those slides and talking about what we as a district, what we're putting into place here, and wanting to get this right, we're going to need the student athletes to do their part. We're going to need the assistance of the families in our communities as they're going onto the campuses, as spectators, they're participating. This is going to take the work of everyone. So mask up, let's social distance, let's do our part and show that working together, we will be able to continue to provide the the experiences that we want to for our students.
Thank you, Dr. Sheffield. And Ms. Miares, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, that postgraduate career for these, for these athletes. Some of the things that I noticed in your protocols was specifically how we're allowing for the recruiters or the people from the universities to come over. Talk about the importance of making sure that was also looped into this protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. And, as Dr. Sheffield alluded to, last year when we had the onset of COVID, the NCAA had shut down travel for the colleges and, for the recruiters that are hired there. And that was very difficult. But now that the dead period is over and that those college coaches and the recruiters can, be traveling throughout the country and can have an opportunity to see the kids, it's really important that we make sure that we have those opportunities for our gates to be opened and for them to, be there at practices, be able to stop in on the campuses, talk with the coaches, talk with the administration, and more importantly, when it's the right point in time through the athletes' recruiting process and depending on what year they're in, that they have the opportunity to speak with them as well. And so we always want to have that door open for the colleges, and we want to ensure that our student athletes and our families are receiving as much exposure as possible and that we make that available to them.
One of the questions that is coming in, and it's from Liz Graff, is just about sports being canceled. She's just asking for clarification that we're not canceling any sports, but it does then beg the question, is there any plans that we have in place in the event that we have to quarantine a team or that we have to cancel games? And what possible, I don't know if consequences is the right word, but then what would happen to the team if do they make up those games if they cancel that game? I'd like to know more on that.
So with sports being canceled at this point in time, there aren't any sports or teams or anything like that have been ruled out or have been canceled by the district. So all athletic programs are up and running in their respective seasons. When we talk about teams or sports on a case-by-case basis, it goes by when there's a COVID impact. So have there been game cancellations? Yes, there have been game cancellations. There'll continue to be game cancellations. And so as positive cases come through, whether it's with the student athletes or with the coaches, we go through the contact tracing process, and from there we have a 5 to 7 day timeline depending on the uniqueness of that case and whether or not we have to go ahead and we have to cancel a game. Ultimately, of course, we want to make sure that we can reschedule the game. With football, it's obviously very unique. It's usually one game per week, and it's a very limited time span. But some of our other sports, such as volleyball, basketball, baseball, and softball at the high school level, those are running on 25 game seasons, and so those have a lot more flexibility for us to be able to reschedule those games. But like, as everybody knows, the calendar eventually runs out. And so we're just going to run out of time, especially at the high school level, because then we hit the district tournament period and there just isn't any more time where we are allowed or capable by policy and bylaw to add any more games in. The middle school level becomes a little more tricky. And so we have sports that run through the 4 quarters. They're usually on 10-game seasons. And now that our middle school sports are re-engaging, they're going to have the firsthand experience for how COVID can kind of play into those seasons and how it can be very difficult at times. So people need to be prepared, and I think need to be accepting of the fact that there will be an impact to your season. Hopefully we'll be able to minimize that as much as possible, but there definitely will be an impact. And I think everybody needs to be realistic on that, but we will work as hard as we can to see if we can get those games rescheduled and those opportunities back in for the student athletes and the coaches.
And some people are concerned about, again, the masking on the field, especially when it's hot. We've taken that into consideration. And can you just, again, reiterate about the protocols in making sure that when there's active play going on, or we're not asking them to necessarily have their helmet and their mask on at the same time in those types of situations?
Yeah, absolutely. And so student athletes, when they are, actively participating, they're in the game, they're in a drill and practice, nobody is asking them to have their facial covering or their mask on at that point in time. But when they are, out of a drill, their pod is out of a drill, if they're on defense and offense is in, we are asking for the athletes and the coaches to go ahead and mask up. But there's plenty of space in the facility to where an athlete feels the need that they need to step away from the team, take a bit of a break, get a breath of fresh air. They certainly can do that. But having the facial covering, as we know, our athletic events, football games, volleyball games, those can run a couple hours at a time. And so when we look at the contact tracing piece and the 15-minute threshold and being within 6 feet of space, the more that we can have student athletes and coaches with the facial covering on, and we can kind of sidestep, and I hate to say sidestep, but we can kind of combat that timeline a little bit. That's very important to us to be able to keep teams going and keeping individual athletes going. But at no point in time is anyone asking for their child to wear their facial covering as they're performing or as they're competing. Of course, families can make that decision to do that, but that's not our policy at the moment.
And Dr. Sheffield, was there anything in particular about last year that stood out in the decision-making process and how we decided to move forward and make this, again, a productive and safe environment for our athletes?
I mean, well, what stood out for me is that, again, last year it was very, it was very different. We identified the 4 sites, where our students were playing within their regional pockets or what have you. It was definitely not a season that we were used to. And so when we saw that and we created the strong re-engagement plan and what it was going to take in regards to us trying to re-engage our athletes and doing this in a safe manner, and most importantly, keeping the health and the health well-being of our student athletes and all of our family members at front site, and then working, of course, with the Department of Health in terms of what we were thinking that could assist us in mitigating many of, many of these experiences or what have you that we are dealing with this whole COVID virus, is that, we are giving it our best shot. We want to give our families the experiences. We've worked with the Department of Health. We've looked at where we are right now, and we're putting together these strategies and things into place. And we're just hoping that it's going to help us, slow down in regards to our students being exposed, our student athletes being exposed, and, just being able to have some normalcy here. And I'm saying normalcy very lightly with the current situation that we are in. And we know that we are seeing an uptick in this virus, what have you. I'm going to, again, just plead with our student athletes, plead with the community to let's just utilize these safety protocols and things in terms of we know what it is that we need to do to help mitigate and slow down in regards to the exposure of this virus. So let's do it. And in doing so, it's going to allow us to continuously provide the opportunities that we want to provide for our students. This is going to take everyone. This is not something that the district can do alone. We're going to need our students. We're going to need our coaches. We're going to need our families, everyone, to look at these mitigating strategies, look in terms of what it is that we can do as human beings, mask up, social distance, and just be very careful and cautious in our space to help slow this down and transmitting this virus. And if we do so, we will be able to provide our student athletes. This is not about football. This is about all our student athletes, every single sport, the opportunity that they did not have last year. And that's our goal. And that's my plea.
And certainly what happens now in the fall will really dictate what ends up happening in the spring as well, because, there's athletes who play sports just in the spring. I mean, I know there's a lot of athletes that do different sports, but certainly they want the stage to be set for them to come back in the spring so that they can continue to play those sports. So again, we're getting a lot of questions, even though the pandemic has, somewhat affected our operations when it comes to athletics. Any of you guys want to just contribute about some of the advances that we're working on? I know that we have a new facility that we opened up last year out in Wellington, but certainly, Ms. Miyares, is there anything you want to add about what we continue to do in order to set the bar high here in the school district of Palm Beach County?
Certainly, Andrew, and yes, and the partnership with the Village of Wellington and Wellington High School has been substantial, and what an incredible facility that they have put on the western side of the county, and a great opportunity for those student athletes. Not only that, just for those community members and those younger recreational athletes, having an opportunity to be on that campus and work within that facility. Again, we had talked about the UNX disinfectant program. I'm happy to say that we're also going to bring a phase 2 in with the UNX disinfectant disinfectant program, and we're going to bring in laundry systems into the commercial washer and dryers on the high school campuses. The UNX systems have also been placed onto the middle schools, and so that's another step up. And those are things that are great even without COVID. When we want to look at combating things like MRSA and staph and other viruses and bacteria, that are from athletics, having these kinds of systems to keep our student athletes, families, and the coaches safe are really of the utmost importance. We're going to be doing some other things. We have House Bill 7011 that was introduced, and so the schools are really paying close attention to hydration and heat monitoring, and so the district is supporting the schools through our weather systems on those pieces. We're also getting big hydration packages out to the schools, and with COVID and the hydration systems, we're also going to be sending out about 500 or 600 individual water bottles. We're going to make sure that kids are as taken care of as possible. And so, we're continuing to try and increase the support that's given from the district level, and we're trying to just up the ante here at the Palm Beach County School District and make sure that we're giving our community a little bit more. We have some other great things that are coming along with facilities, things that can't be discussed at this point in time, but other things that are in the works that I think that would really excite parts of our community and these great facilities that our student athletes can take advantage of.
Dr. Sheffield?
Oh, well, thank you, Andrew, for coming back. And definitely Val was hitting on it in regards to, the support that has been provided. And I think it's also important, and Val, I'm not sure if you covered it or not, but to tell you, Superintendent Burke has just been very gracious when we met with him in regards to the re-engagement of our athletes. And in terms of exactly what it is, what are our immediate needs, and what it is that we can do to try to streamline, again, some of this. So there are additional fundings that were coming in, and Val did touch on some of that in regards to the commitment, from the superintendent and from the board in regards to whatever it is that you need to do to make certain that we can try to provide this normal season for our athletes. Let's do it. So the commitment is definitely there. Just on yesterday, we had the city of West Palm that reached out to us to really talk about and wanting us to share in regards to what is it? What are some of those mitigating strategies? What do your protocols look like? We would like to see it as we're trying to re-engage, our community athletes into some of, their events, in the various leagues and so forth. So the community is definitely working together and realizing that this is not, again, about the school district of Palm Beach County, but it's about us embracing each other, communities coming together, and again, wanting to provide an opportunity for our students and their families. And I just cannot thank the communities enough, all of the surrounding communities and the support that they have provided. And to, again, to the superintendent and to our school board, they have just been phenomenal. And our principals in wanting, again, to provide this opportunity for our students. So having such champions, it's wonderful.
What kind of conversations are being had, with our partners to the south in Miami-Dade and Broward? I know that we play a lot against them, and especially, again, across the state. Protocols similar, just trying to feel out how it is similar in other counties.
Well, I can tell you, and I know Val is going to chime in, we're just blessed to have Valerie here. We don't talk about her enough. Because she serves, and worked very closely with the Florida High School Athletic Association, as the state, and so forth. And it's important to Val because many times when we're sitting here and we're talking about what it is that we can do here in Palm Beach County, we're always reaching out and collaborating, with Hillsborough, with Miami-Dade, with Broward, and many of the other counties, because again, it is important to have thought partners because they may have something that we had not thought of, in terms of that was going to help us get through this. But Valerie definitely could talk more in regards to the collaboration that we have going on with our surrounding districts, because it is indeed taking place.
Yeah, and so the Tri-County has a very strong relationship. We don't always align at 100%, but we are going ahead and we are stepping out first, and we are putting in some mitigating protocols. We've already seen a number of school districts follow suit. There's some other school districts to the north that are bringing their capacities down to 25%. So the district athletic directors throughout the state, we continuously communicate and kind of make sure that we're all on par with what's happening around the state and what it looks like with those strategies and mitigation, and how far are some counties taking it, or how open are other counties. And so in trying to find what really works well and pairs well for us. But Broward and Dade are excellent partners, but not only that, so are some of our private schools here in the county and some of the charter schools here in the county. Really collaborate and do a lot of work together. But I will say that it's becoming pretty much standard now that a lot of the counties are coming down from 100% capacity, especially in that indoor space and in the outdoor space, just to provide as much safety as possible. The goal is to make sure that our student athletes and our athletic programs can continue moving forward. We don't want to have a hiatus. We don't want to have to take a pause. We don't want to have to do any of those things. And so making sure that we put some of these strategies in place for both the athletes and the coaches, as well as our communities when they come to support, are really of the utmost importance. And so it's nice to see some of the surrounding counties to also chip in and doing their part as well.
Well, again, I think that basically covers everything that we wanted to discuss. I mean, there is again a very exciting season for our students, our athletes, our coaches, and our community. And so if you have the opportunity to attend one of our games, we certainly encourage you to do it in a safe manner and to enjoy yourself, because Dr. Sheffield, I see you shaking your head. We are extremely proud of our athletes and all that they accomplish here in the school district, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you guys again for joining us for this conversation. If you'd like more information about the protocols, there's more information available at palmbeachschools.org.